Hi there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make something called a Millionaire's shortbread. It covers every kind of craving you could have, a cookie craving, a chocolate craving, a caramel craving, because the first layer is a shortbread. The second layer has a layer of caramel that you make on the stove, and the third layer is a chocolate ganache. So it's a three-tier dessert, and they're Millionaire bars, actually. You'll cut them in bars. So I hope you just love this recipe. I think you will. So these are all the ingredients you're going to need for all three parts of your shortbread bars. You're going to have a cup of butter, and you're going to want that to be softened, a half a cup of sugar, 1 egg yolk, 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 cups of flour. That's for your shortbread. And then you're going to need, for your caramel, you're going to need a half a cup of butter, again, softened, 1 cup of light brown sugar, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1 can, a 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, and you're going to need 1/4 a cup of caro syrup or corn syrup, vanilla, and that's going to be a teaspoon of vanilla. And so that's going to be the caramel layer. And for the last layer, which is the chocolate ganache, you're going to need 1.5 cups of chocolate chips, semi-sweet, and then you're going to need 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Now I don't have any heavy cream, so you can use evaporated milk as a substitution. So these are all the ingredients. You want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. After you preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, the next thing you're going to want to do is take a 9 by 9 inch baking pan and line it with some parchment paper. Now we're going to go over to the mixer. We're going to mix our shortbread together. So you're going to put your butter in, and we're going to mix that up first until it's real creamy. So once your batter is creamy right about like this, you're going to add your 1/2 a cup of sugar, and you're going to cream that well. So once your butter and sugar mixture are combined and they're creamy like this, you're going to add your egg yolk. Then you're going to add your 1/2 a teaspoon of salt, and then you're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And you're going to mix that together. Once your mixture is creamy like this, of course you're going to want to get a spatula. And now you're going to add your 2 cups of flour, and you're going to do it in increments. You don't want to overmix it, but you want to add the flour in increments until it's all creamed together. Our last step of the shortbread is pressing our shortbread down in this 9 by 9 inch baking pan. We're just going to put the whole thing in and press everything down flat in the pan. And what's really nice is you can make use of some nice gloves. Some of it might be a little crumbly, which is fine. So it doesn't have to come up to the edges. You just want to flatten this all out. So that's what we're going to do right now, is spread all of it out. I do recommend you get like a cup or a spoon or something, put flour on the bottom of it so it doesn't stick. And it doesn't have to come up the edges, because you're going to have 2 more layers. And there's plenty of room. You just want to make sure your parchment paper comes up to the edge, so when you fill the other layers, it won't go above the parchment paper. So we're ready to put this in a 350 degree oven for about 20 minutes. Keep an eye on it. You might have to go less time depending on your oven. So I'm going for 15 minutes to start on the middle rack, 350 degrees. While your shortbread is baking in the oven, you're going to get your caramel layer ready. So we need a 1/2 a cup of softened butter. We're going to have a whole cup of light brown sugar. You're going to have 1 14-ounce can of condensed milk. And this is all going to be cooking on the stove. So your butter, I have it softened because it melts a lot quicker when you have your butter at room temp versus cold butter from the refrigerator. So You're going to add these ingredients, and you're going to put your half a teaspoon of salt, and you're going to add a 1/4 cup of your Caro syrup. And what we can do here is kind of mix it around, but we're not going to really get it combined till we get to the stove. So you want this on medium heat when you go to the stove. And I'm going to wait until the shortbread is ready, because I'm going to pour this over afterwards. So we do put vanilla in here, but we do that at the end, at the very end. So what you're going to be doing on the stove is you're going to be using a whisk on medium heat, and the temperature you want to get it to is 225 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's when you know your caramel is ready. So I'm just going to wait for the shortbread before I put this on the stove. Our shortbread just came out of the oven. This one took about 18 minutes, and if you look on the edges, that's how you'll know. See how it's kind of golden here? And it's set, and if you move it, it doesn't shake or anything. This is ready. Now, we could have done the caramel and poured it on as soon as it came out, but I didn't want to be cooking on the stove while the timer went off on this. So we're going to go over to the stove, and we're going to cook the caramel. You're going to start by heating this up, and it will have to melt first, and then you can start stirring it, and then you can switch over from a wooden spoon to a whisk. You have to stay here and watch this, and then you have to have a thermometer. If you have one, it has to reach 220. Otherwise, it has to be like a caramel color and really be bubbling for a while, not burning. That's why you have to stay here and really keep an eye on it. The butter is starting to melt down, and that's the very beginning stages of it. Our butter is pretty much melted. Now I'm switching over to a whisk, and I do have my thermometer that I put in. And like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on it and keep stirring it until it reaches 220. So this is going to get more of a caramelized color, and it's going to be bubbling a little more, but you don't want to go to high. We're doing this at medium. When you see it pulling away from the pan, that's how you know it's very, very close. Very close. We're at 222. So here it is. This is how you know it's reached. It's real thick and real bubbly, and now we're going to transfer it. You can see how it's bubbling. That's how it's supposed to be. See how it comes away from the edges? It's super, super hot, so you have to be very, very careful. So you're going to pour this. And there it is, nice, rich, thick, creamy, homemade caramel. It was real easy to make. This wasn't difficult at all. So you don't need a thermometer. You just have to wait till it kind of bubbles and you see this color, the color that changes from a light taupe to a caramel color. So now we're going to do the ganache. I will be right back. The next step is you're going to refrigerate this for 10 minutes while you make the chocolate ganache. One thing I did forget to put in before I poured the caramel is you're supposed to put a teaspoon of vanilla in it, but I was so worried about getting this in and not burning myself. I tasted the caramel. It tastes wonderful without the vanilla. So we're going to refrigerate this for 10 minutes. The last step is making your chocolate ganache. So you're going to need a double boiler, or you can microwave this, and you're going to have a 1.5 cups of chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate. I like semi-sweet, and that's what the recipe is, semi-sweet, but whatever you want. And earlier I referenced a 1/4 cup of cream, but it's actually 1/3 cup. So what you want to do is put your pot here, or if you microwave it, which you can, you have to do it in increments, like 15-second increments, because otherwise it will burn. You know, microwaves have problems too if they're not done right. So you're going to put your chocolate chips in, you're going to put your heavy cream, or I have evaporated milk. And we're going to stir this around. It has to heat up until it's melted. So you're stirring it, you want those chips to melt in so that it's just creamy and no chips. You can also use a chocolate bar if you want. So our chocolate ganache is all ready, and you can see how creamy it is. That's just how you want it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take it away from the water, and we're going to pour it over our shortbread, or over our caramel part of it. Now this was in the refrigerator a little over 10 minutes just to set it more. It doesn't need to be like chilled. Just set. And now we're going to pour the chocolate ganache over the top. And now we're going to spread this chocolate all over the top. You can use your spatula now for the rest. So the very last topping is optional, and I've never used it, but there's like a little salt that some people put on it. It's that real grainy kind of a minced salt, and I don't put it on because this has enough salt in the caramel, and I don't necessarily care for that. I've had salt on chocolate before, and it's not really my thing. And if you want to put it on, it's optional, you can. So what we do is we just take this chocolate ganache and put it all the way to the edge. You could do a little design if you want. And this is it. The only thing you would do different if you wanted is to add that salt. It's a real fine salt that they use for candies and stuff. So we're all set. Now this goes in the refrigerator, and it will have to set. It'll be about an hour to 2 hours. I'll let you know how long it took. This chilled in the refrigerator for 40 minutes, so it doesn't need to be there as long as I said. You want to take it out of your pan. And now we can start slicing them in. So the chocolate is still soft, but the cookie part, the shortbread part, is firm, but I don't want it to get too firm. See how easy it is to cut it like that? And it is very rich. The chocolate, you could leave it in the refrigerator longer to set the chocolate, but then what you're going to have is run the risk of the shortbread getting real hard. So it could actually go in there longer. It's just up to what you want. But I'm going to cut them kind of like little bars like this. And it is real soft, the chocolate, but the cookie is just perfect, the shortbread. And I'm going to leave it up to you. Like if you want to put this in the refrigerator longer, you can. It just will be a harder shortbread. So see how nice that looks? You've got the 3 layers. And we're going to give it a try. Here they are. I put them all in a Tupperware container because they need to refrigerate for probably another 30 minutes because everything is perfect except for the chocolate is a little too soft. So they did go in for about 40 minutes. I figure another 30 minutes or maybe even longer. The idea is getting everything set. So the only thing that didn't set perfectly is the chocolate. It's too soft, but let me give it a try. Unbelievable. I hope you give this a try. I think you're going to absolutely love this, and I hope it turns out wonderful for you.